Yay.
Well, I need to. All right. I'm going to call the Southborough Economic Development Committee meeting of Thursday, September 24th to order at 7:05 p.m. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation to the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Economic Development Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information in the general guidelines of remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to no in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceeding in real time by technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Wow. Boy, I messed that one up tonight. You figure I've read that about 100 times. You'd think I'd be a little bit better at it by now. So sorry about that. So anyway, again, calling the meeting to order at 7:06 now. I guess I was supposed to read that before calling it to order. So first thing on the agenda is the Village Mixed Use District update presentation. Claire, do you want to go? I'm hoping everybody had a chance to look at it, print it out, or go through it. Claire, do you want to go through it real quick with us?
If that's your pleasure.
It is. I'd like to just have a quick discussion on it so that we can get the selectmen to
Okay.
look at it.
Marika, can you just promote me so that I can share my screen?
You know what, I just want to say right now, we have Rob Anderson, myself, John Wood, Julie Conley, Christopher Robbins, and Suzanne Duca from the committee, and in attendance is Claire Reynolds as well as Marika Munza. Just because once we get our minute taker.
Claire, you should be able to do that now. You're co-host.
Oh, share screen. Perfect. Thank you very much. Only the host, all panelists. So I guess I've been promoted to a panelist. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. 1 second here.
By the way, Claire, you did a good job on this, you and Marika.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, no, this was a group thing between Marika and myself, and we had the thing put together to well, as I go through the presentation, I'll tell you why we kind of came through this. Okay, so everybody can see the screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the reason this was put together is because everybody has to realize we are on a very tight deadline. If this thing is going to go for March town meeting, we are on a tight deadline. I know that it seems, here we are at the end of September, essentially we almost have 6 months. Understand that there is a process that has to go through. Marika and I had gone through the process with Sarah and Karina for round 1 back in January. And so what we did was, when I saw how the time was kind of moving along, I said, okay, we need to actually have this together. It is a very good idea to get together on the 6th. Everybody's looking forward to that, to the meeting when are attending. One of the things that I thought was particularly helpful is because there are a lot of people who have not been following this, sleeping and drinking this like Marika and I have for the last however long, and need kind of a refresher. So that's where we are. And that was the intention to
PSKTOPRKKLL7G.
Sorry, guys, I just lost my connection. Okay, this isn't anything new. This was put in here just so that everybody, if you go back and if you read the email that I sent out to everybody, I said, may I make a suggestion that this would be a very good way to get everything kicked off. So what you do is you refresh everybody in terms of what's happening with the Business Village District. Then we go and we put essentially what has been done. This is really particularly important because people do not understand all the steps that have been done. So I think that if you read through there, unless you have any questions, there's no sense in me going through any of them. Yay, nay, continue, questions? Hello?
So I muted myself when I was just talking. I apologize. I have no questions on that page. Did everybody have a chance to look at this and go through it already?
Okay,
Any
does
questions
anybody
or
have any
concerns
questions
for-
on this slide?
No questions.
Okay.
We can proceed.
Okay, so the next thing is that on the project timeline, and these have been done in different flavors, and Marika took this and kind of put it on, you know, where we started, where we are now. And just to give everybody, once again, an idea. I don't know, if you want, I'll go through each one of them. I don't think it's really necessary, but if you go to 2020 here, we had the zoning article, which was originally planned for the spring annual town meeting. There were presentations which were done to January 6th. I think Rob did that. There was an advisory board discussion. I was there with Tom Collins, and Marika did her roadshow. We talked with, after hiring Adam Costa, who came highly recommended and is also the town attorney on, you know, what a backup or whatever they call it. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the technical term is. We worked with him on drafting from the legal standpoint. There was a May 8th email that was sent out to everybody asking for input. The version 2 of the VMUD was distributed on June 15th to all board and committee stakeholders. I met with Open Space and reviewed and their questions at the end of June. It was a very good meeting. I documented that to everybody. If you need a refresher on the email, I certainly have that. The meeting got rescheduled, so we were able to buy some time. The Business Village District Design Guidelines. So that was a document that never existed before, but one of the things that people were saying was, well, this has to be included. So what she did was that would be something that was a stake in the ground and could be reviewed. The July 10th, the version 3 was distributed with a request to review. And then July 28th, after Judy Barrett had signed a contract, we had several calls with her. September 8th, she sent in time for the September 8th meeting a standards, her reply to the standards V1 draft, version 1 draft from her, not to be confused with our version 3 draft. She was looking for requests to be put together, to be sent back to her. I put together a document that did an analysis of what was actually contained in the document, and that's where we are now. So October 6th, if any of you watched the Board of Selectmen meeting, everybody is going to be, planning is going to be there. Board of Selectmen, EDC, Sam Stivers said, please extend an invitation to Shopsy. Marty made it very clear at the Board of Selectmen's meeting this week that this was going to be a meeting with all the project stakeholders to attend. However, it wasn't there was a lot that was going to be presented, so it might not be the particular meeting where everybody gets to put in their comments. He's allowing an hour to 2 hours on the October 6th Board of Selectmen's meeting, and that's where we are now. Why I put this together was because we are in a tight time frame. Whiteboard sessions are absolutely fabulous, but I think we need to make sure that everybody understands. There have been surveys that have been done, there have been reports, and all of the recommendations come out with the same thing. So I think that we need to have that up on the whiteboards and then go from there. That's just my suggestion. And it gives something. Andrew Dennington, when Tom Collins and I presented to him to the advisory committee in January, Andrew Dennington said a very good comment. This is the first time anybody has on paper, which was the work that the EDC had put together. That it's not a perfect document, but it's a document. It gives you something to work on. So as I move along here, this isn't anything that's new to anybody on EDC.
Claire,
Something that-
excuse me. Claire, what did Andrew Dennington say?
He was very supportive of Marika's. What Marika did was, and Marika, just, feel free to jump in if I'm saying something incorrectly. She put together, based on a lot of studies that we had done talking with the other, she did research on what towns had overlay districts. And one of them was Grafton. And we met with the town planner for Grafton. We were kind of curious in terms of how they were able to put this together and get it, passed through and their. So what she did was she took and used Grafton's, which we explained to Andrew and to the advisory committee in January when we were presenting to them. She put that on paper, customized some of the stuff which was not applicable to Southborough. And what he realized was this is the first time that anybody has done something like this, to actually get a document that you could hold in your hand and say, I agree with this, I don't agree with this.
Thank you.
Answer your question? Okay. Okay, so the next thing is, so this defines the area. If you haven't read some of the reports, we're talking under 15 acres. When people ask, what do you have for a vision? And that question came up several times at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. I couldn't understand why. Because there have been renderings that were produced along with discussion topics, et cetera, et cetera. Specifically in the, oops, hold on, let me just shut my timer off here. Specifically in the draft that Marika had put together and that we had worked with Adam Costa, these were the, this was the response when people say, what are you trying to do? Okay, well, this is what we're trying to do. And it says it in the document. And it said it in the document that version 3 was sent to Judy. And then when she created her document that she referenced at the last meeting, at the September 8th meeting, this purpose was the whole first page of her document. The next slide covers the 3 options that had been talked about in terms of what do you actually do. All right, so people need to realize that EDC did not just come up with, oh, well, we want an overlay. And as Julie said to the selectmen at the meeting, we are not married to an overlay. from discussions that we had had with Adam Costa, with everything being considered and the environment, an overlay would probably be the easiest way to get something done. Turns out that the planner was hired did not agree, but this was the reasoning in here. And if you look at each one of them, without separating out pros and cons, it actually just says, if you look at the first column, edit the business village district, which was the first step which is what Julie had done in terms of putting in, we need to make a few changes, okay? That didn't go too much further than that, okay? And some of the cons, I guess you could say, would be the last couple bullets that applied to all 3 village districts. Well, you knew that that wasn't going to fly, and does not address streamlining permitting process. So that would be kind of like a con. A new overlay district, in other words, taking the zoning and then customizing it specifically for downtown is the middle option. No, excuse me, is the overlay option. And then the new one was actually creating where we currently now have 3 business village districts, then you would have 2 that were the same, had the same zoning, plus a new one customized just for downtown. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so the next one is why we got to the whole overlay option. And I think at some point in time, people have to realize, because if they don't have the addiction that I do of watching these meetings on TV so that you stay informed with this stuff, we've said a few times that we're open to other options. The suggested amendment that was put for the mixed use component was considered a little bit too broad. By the way, this particular slide is different from has been edited from the presentation that was sent out a couple days ago. And what I did was I put that the other options was to create an overlay, revise the business village district, and to create a separate downtown business village district. The reason that this was changed was I had a very good conversation today with Karina and Sarah. And the reason for the conversation
who?
was Sarah Hoker, who's Karina's
Assistant?
assistant.
Yes.
Yeah, and the reason that we scheduled that today was just to make sure that the next slide, which I'll bring up, that the timeframes for completing all of the steps that are in the process will be reached. And so I worked together with her, with both of them. And then we also, this came up and I worked with Karina and Sarah to say, what's the best way to present this? And we came up with this as a good representation, so to speak. The last bullet says a mixed use overlay district was considered the preferred option. And those are should not be anything new to anybody because it's been in just about everything that's been sent out. And so that is once, whoops, I didn't want that to happen. Hang on. Okay. All righty. So that leads us to how do we get this thing ready in time for annual town meeting? And you'll notice that, oops.
You didn't
You'll
change
notice-
this page from what we were sent, correct?
Yes, just a little bit. And the only
Moving forward, if
change-
you change a page, if you can send it out before the meeting, so you at least see it, that'd be great.
excuse me?
Moving forward, if you make changes to a page, if you could send it out before the meeting.
Okay, I
Please.
didn't because I figured that you wanted me to go through it during the presentation.
Yep,
but
I do. Nope,
move
this is
that.
great, just because we're gonna discuss it and probably vote on it, so I'd like to just, that way nobody can say we
Right.
didn't see it, blah, 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 so I just,
Well, actually, what I
Right.
did, to address your concern is you'll notice down in the lower right-hand corner that I added on to all the slides, the slide number, and I labeled it as V2, meaning version 2.
perfect,
The
thank you.
Previous presentation that you had did not have that on there, so there can't be any confusion.
Now, what's
Okay.
different from this one than the last one?
Okay, so what's different here is the dates on the left-hand column are all the same. What has changed is, and this was part of the process that we talked about today, and it's very important that people understand this. December 14th, but if the Board of Selectmen approve the final draft at their November 17th meeting, then November 19th, the planning board needs to receive the final draft from the Board of Selectmen, which isn't a problem, because if they approve it, then you just go and you slap a cover on it and off it goes. They need that, planning board needs that in order to be able to do the steps that they need to do with the notifications for the first public hearing, which would be December 14th.
Okay,
Don't forget, we have Christmas holidays. So some of these boards and committees are only meeting once during December because of the holidays. So if the first public hearing is December 14th, then these things never get resolved, as we had discussed today. Public hearings get continued. So it was continued to public hearing 2 and 3, which would be during the 2 January 21st planning board meetings. Okay, and public, just as a refresher to everybody, because it was a refresher to me, public hearings stay open until they don't have any more comments from the public, and planning board votes to close the public hearing. At that point, what has been discussed, changed, or whatever is the document going forward. All right, now, the reason it says February 21 is to kind of add in a little bit of a fudge factor, just in case it goes to a 4th public hearing. It's not that that hasn't been heard of in the past. Okay, then at the February Board of Selectmen meeting, they vote any of the changes, if it's necessary, from comments in the public hearings that, so that, in other words, the document keeps changing during the public hearing as planning agrees to, different changes or whatever. Okay. And then planning has to provide recommendations on the article, which is included in the warrant. And any day now, it will be before the end of September. The selectmen are going to come out with their annual timeline for getting things into the warrant, for the sign-offs, for the printing and all that kind of stuff. So that's why this slide says subject to change, because there's 2 changes involved here. One is that, let's say, for example, something wild. The schedule that we actually put together was based on town meeting being the last Saturday in March. I think that's pretty true, but just let's say for giggles that it's the March. So there's a little bit of a, fluctuation there. Plus the fact that depending on the public hearings, this might change a little bit. It could be that hopefully this won't happen, but we kind of front end loaded the activities, because as we all know, what happens as things move along. Dates, if dates are missed, getting the article that we have to have approved by the Board of Selectmen, then we're up a creek here. So this is a schedule that is doable. Questions on that? Okay.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
What dates will we need to schedule? If you and Marika can look forward and try to figure out what dates the EDC may need to meet specifically, to go over drafts or anything, to vote before these go to any other committees or any of that stuff. If we can get that kind of figured out in the schedule as well, because I don't want to miss anything because we didn't have a meeting scheduled or were able to talk about it or vote on it or any of that.
Right.
Stuff.
I think right now, if you.
I just want to make sure we plan enough time. We don't have to do it tonight, but if you want to take a look
Right.
at it, figure it out, so we make sure, and I want to allow enough time in the meeting that it's dedicated pretty much just to whatever this article needs.
Understood.
For our meeting.
And by the way, so two things. One is, I think right now, if you stick to an every other week schedule for EDC meetings. And then the second thing is, I'm sorry, it just skipped my mind. It'll come back. I apologize. I don't know, it'll come to me. So we'll go back over what the schedule is, from now through the end of the year for EDC and just make sure that that syncs up with when this comes through. Don't forget, it's also going to depend on, I don't know what, if October 6th, which Marty said at the Board of Selectmen meeting, and if I already repeated this, I'm sorry. He plans on scheduling 1 to 2 hours on the October 6th meeting for
Yep.
this. Okay, so and then depending on, there may be a follow-up to that, so that would obviously be the next state.
Okay. We'll
Right.
wait till after the 6th and then really hammer down for us as well. We'll keep our
Hello,
every
hello,
other
did I
week
lose
now.
anybody?
What's
Hey,
that?
Claire.
Okay, I'm sorry, I think I might have lost somebody for a second here.
Claire,
Julie?
it's Julie. I just want to add one more thing. So first, thank you for putting this together. Just a couple of things. I totally agree that the dates are going to be important, and we've been kind of running around in this circle for a few years now where we say, oh, next spring town meeting, we're going to propose something. And, there's just always obstacles. But I think we do have the support of the board right now. And I think, we need to be careful about these dates so that we can actually make it happen this time. And I think it's going to be important to stay on track with that and make sure that the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board also understand that those dates are really critical. And I appreciate your, doing the work to work backwards and let us know what our deadlines are going to be. Just a couple other comments on this. I think I appreciate all the work we did in putting the history together. And I think you're right that there are some people who are involved now who are newer selectmen or newer planning board members or, newer people that we're bringing into the fold like Judy, who just don't have the history. And we've said this 1,000 times. And I think we forget that not everybody else has heard it 1,000 times, that there have been numerous studies done that all end up with the same result. So why are we wasting more time? And, and I was, and when people at the Board of Selectmen meeting were saying, oh, well, we don't know what the vision is, or we don't know what the residents want. And we have all that information. So I had a call with Judy last week and it was a really nice call. And, I was able to relay some of that to her and just let her know, we've really hammered this point. We've really done our homework here. We know, we think we know what we're looking for, and, we're ready to move forward. So I sent her some more of the information, some of the other presentations that you guys have put together, just to kind of rehash some of this history with her. So she had it and let her know, we think we're ready to go. And as far as the issue of overlay versus a separate district, I want to be careful not to get too hung up on that. While it is, is something obviously we need to get an answer to. Judy expressed in the Board of Selectmen meeting that she thinks the preferable way is to just do a straight different, different zoning area with no overlay. But she told me on the phone, said, it can work either way. She's not 1,000%, wedded to that either. And at the end of the day, whichever way we go, it's really the details of what those provisions look like, whether it's an overlay or separate, that, it's the details of what do we want for setbacks, which we want for design guidelines, which we want for, height and density and all that kind of stuff. So those elements, it doesn't matter really, at least that's my understanding. And Rob, you can feel free to tell me if I'm wrong. It doesn't matter if it's an overlay or a separate district. So and also I'm trying to think about the right balance, because I think this history is important and we have a lot of it, but also I know I had a follow-up conversation with Marty and Lisa and Judy. I'm sorry, not Judy, Marty and Lisa, and they want to have a follow-up conversation with Judy as well before the October 6th meeting. And they're very supportive, but they want to, they're looking forward. So I think yes, we've gone back and forth and we have our whole history, but they want to look forward and say, okay, what should we do now? We know, here's what we think we want. Let's move forward with it. Let's not get too in the weeds of, explaining how we got to overlay too much, because let's take what we have now and move forward with it. That's all.
Yeah. Julie, I just want to say bravo, well said. And this is the whole issue about educating the public constantly, because all the naysayers or pro this or against this, a lot of them haven't heard this stuff before. And so we have to constantly educate them, but we also have to have the key people on board with us so that they understand what we're doing and what are the 4 bullets that can enable the planning board to say confidently, we agree in the details and we're ready to go forward with this, as opposed to having a conversation that goes into a big, we've got to look at the worst case scenario. We go into a joint meeting and it's a complete gaggle because nobody's agreeing, and we've done our homework, but the planning board is, well, what if we have to do more? We've got to clear some of those hurdles. So the champions on the planning board are going to say, we're for this, and these are the 4 bullets we're going to have, or the neighbors who come in and say, well, I don't understand that. That's part of the education process. But we've got to have a AAA team going into the meeting saying, we support this, we're doing this, and this is what we agree on. And I'm going to overstate this, but we should be able to do it in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'm overstating that. I'm overstating it to make a point that people need to put their hands on what the essence of this is quickly and understand it in a layman's term so that we can get the favorable votes we need. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but I think we've got this report, I think is excellent. And Julie and I think, and Claire and John, I think you guys have the means to enable this to happen.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chris. And I think you're right. And it's tough to strike that balance, because we keep hearing, oh, well, when we get questions about, do you have a vision? What, that seemed to, obviously not everybody has all the background, and it's important for them to know that we've done that research, but also not be giving a 30-minute presentation while we're there, because we do need to really hone down to the few things that's important. And it's going to come up. It's going to be a constant education process. I forget who commented, but somebody said, oh, well, have you thought about trails or connectivity? And it's like, yeah, of course we have. That was one of the 4 tenets that we started with. We've been talking about that for years. So it's going to be a constant education, but yeah, we definitely need to have very refined bullet points too.
Can we keep
Can I say
moving on
something,
this?
Julie? Sorry, John?
I'd like to keep moving on this presentation.
Okay.
We can discuss
All right,
more of
never
it
mind.
afterwards if we need to, so we can get it voted on. There's a couple more pages of things. Did anything else on this page? Anybody else? No? All right, Claire, keep going on that. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Marika,
so,
I want to come
yeah.
Marika up. Marika, did you have something you wanted to say on that last page?
No, I'm all set. No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so real quickly, what I did was I just actually, Marika and I recapped what came out of all of these studies on the left-hand side. Okay, just very, very, very briefly, put on here with links where possible. Also to the survey.
On
somebody
that
had-
last page, the appendix,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, on the last page with the master plan, the MAPC report, the ULI report, and the 2015 HPP, you can actually, the 2020 housing production plan is approved and out. It's going to be in print and in by Monday. And there's not a whole lot on mixed use, but you can also look, it's, I believe, yeah, it's page 47. They talk about, let's see, trying to find where they said something about mixed use. Characteristics of proposed residential and mixed use developments that would be preferred by the municipality's implementation strategies. So there's a little bit in the 2020 HPP report, if you want to look at that, maybe add it to that as well. So it's not like it's something that the last housing report,
Good point.
that way we
Yeah.
have a more current one as well. So it'll show in the last two. I'm sorry, that was my only thing on that page, if anybody has
Nope.
anything else.
No, very, very good.
It's page
because-
46 through 48, I believe, has implementation stuff on that.
46 through 48. Okay, I've made a note of it.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
with
no,
that.
no, no, great.
Please, if
Okay,
anybody else had anything on that page? If nothing, let's go to the next slide, please.
Oh, no, if I might,
Yeah.
on that particular page, the 2008 master plan, goal number 1, promote growth and development within the downtown to encourage a mixed use environment. That should be on page 1. The only, one of the reasons why we're going through either the zoning overlay or the new district or changing the business district points back to our master plan. And we need, I think that's one of the most important things that we can say as part of any presentation. Why are you doing this? It's the master plan. Master plan is telling us what we need to do. And the fact
Good
that it's
point.
goal number 1, it like, if we can have just one slide with that on it is a really important thing. That's just kind of one of my thoughts when I just saw it.
That's
pop up.
brilliant. That's
I think that's
brilliant.
brilliant. Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Good.
yeah. And it shows that, this was the 2008 master plan. So, we're getting around to it, so to
Yep.
speak, and we're following the plan that we have.
That was great,
Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah, well, the question that I've always heard is, why are we doing this? What is the vision? The vision is
Beats
the
the heck out
implementation
of
of the
me.
master plan.
Yeah. Okay.
So should we make this whole page, Rob, one of the first pages of why are we doing this? And then, instead of an appendix study, have it like the beginning of the presentation, you think?
I like that.
I think it's very strong because
I agree.
it justifies the work that we've been doing. And although there's a history from 2017 to 2020 of the steps that we have taken, those steps are built upon the work that had been done in the past and reports that had already been written. So in order to answer that question of why or what's the vision, we can basically say, this is where we started. And it started all the way back in 2008.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Changing this whole page to the beginning, instead of calling it an appendix study, I'd call it why are we doing this, or
Yeah.
why me? Yeah, I like that. I think that's a really good idea. Personally, I don't know what anybody else thinks about that.
It's excellent.
I agree.
Brilliant,
Yeah,
brilliant.
I like that a lot. I like that an awful lot.
Okay. And some of these slides might not even be, I don't know how to get this out of here. Sorry, folks. Some of these,
Now you got
I'm
to
sure
figure out
there's
how
an
to erase it.
eraser up here, there we go. Clear all drawings. There we go. Okay, so this just talks about, the reason that I put this in here was there was a comment that was made that, well, when we do a study, we only get 100 people who respond. I think that was a reference to the current master plan study. I'm not sure, but as we all know, there were 427, which is a pretty good, that's kind of like the magic number that stuck around. And there was a number that Julie corrected everybody on at the September meeting. And it just goes, I included the links in here and there you go. And
like it.
then we had the, somebody want to talk? And then we had the part that for the February 7th public forum, which was the really well-attended one. It was televised and all that kind of stuff. And, just to add on some of the things that had been done. And Marika even reminded me of some of the things that had been done since she came in. So that's my spiel. Once again, it's just to set a framework. It might be a little too detailed. Marika and I had planned initially to do it as like 4 slides.
I don't think
We
it's
just
too
done too
detailed at
much.
all. I think you did a great job.
Well, it was a joint effort between the two of us. We had a
So-
blast. We had
Sorry,
a blast
John.
doing it.
Yes,
John, can I just say something?
yes, please.
I just Claire just mentioned something I think it's important for us to think about is what do we intend, what are our expectations from the October 6th meeting? I know the Board of Selectmen is organizing it and we are just participants. And it goes back to why we put up, why we created this presentation is that we don't want to have a 2-hour discussion about why are we doing this? What is our vision? What is our purpose? Because we had all those discussions, and because of the timetable we have, we want to make it as productive as possible, and we want to move forward. So on the one hand, I feel a little bit it's a bit of a lost opportunity because I feel there are 2 important things. One is the actual kind of performance standards, like the details that we actually expected to have by now. And then the other question is, how are you going to implement it? Are you going to use an overlay or are you going to create a new district? I mean, those things are more the legal structure. So there are 2, so I was hoping we would have the performance standards because those things I think are important to discuss with the planning board because they would be looking at the size of the building, the frontage, the parking, all those kind of things. And we don't have those because, we are still waiting for those. So what are our expectations with this meeting, apart from just updating everyone on what we've done?
Marika, well
Can I
said.
answer that?
We need an action step, not another discussion about, oh, what is this? Like we're starting all over again. We want to have a decision made and we've got to get the planning board on board to say, we're in consensus with this and we're ready to go forward as to.
Can I
Yeah,
answer that? So
please, Julie.
I had a conversation with, I had a really nice conversation with Marty and Lisa last week. And I asked them that question. I said, what's our goal? Like, I think it's important to have an agenda and they absolutely were on board with that. So I'm gonna follow up with them. I know that they planned on having a further discussion before the meeting with Judy to try to, to make sure we were on the same page. And I said a lot of those questions that Marika just asked, what is our plan? We want to make sure this meeting is productive and that everybody's on the same page and that we're starting with some sort of baseline of expectation about what's going to happen there. And, what should we have already agreed on beforehand versus what are we going to discuss collaboratively there? And I think everyone's on the same page as that. So that's on me. I'll follow up with them and see, if we can, to see what that's going to look like. But I 100% agree. Like, let's not rehash stuff. Let's make this a step forward if we're going to, take everybody's time to get them in the same room together or the same.
Julie,
I
excuse
just want to
me.
get back on topic instead of getting off this. I want to stay on agenda. I'm not saying this isn't important, but I just want to get a motion to either accept, amend, or this presentation real quick.
I move that we accept this.
Okay, do I have a second?
I just want to say, I think Rob made a couple of suggestions.
Yeah, so we'll get that in discussion. So do I have a second?
Second, yeah.
Okay, any discussion? Yeah, I would say accept it with that appendix that we changed to be the front page, to have that, the 2008, the why we're doing this page move from the back to the front as our first page. That would be what I would. how I
John,
would-
I moved it as we were discussing this. So essentially, what you have, and I'll take this part out, but, whoops. Uh-oh.
And I also think, this is it'll be informative to know, what the agenda looks like. And I think regardless, this is a good tool for everybody to have. So hopefully we're not, having to answer the same questions that, we've already, if everyone has this information beforehand, theoretically, then we won't have to answer a lot of these background questions as much. So I think it's a good tool, but then, we will, after we have the agenda, I think we'll want to think about, do we want to present this, or do we just want to take questions on it? Or they're just, short 3 minutes of bullet points we want to make sure, we want to, present to everybody from it.
I think once we get this voted on, as we said, I think definitely get it out into everybody's hands before then, and then just take questions on it, because I think we're going to have a lot to talk about that night. Hopefully people will have looked at it before October 6th, and we can touch base on it real quick and just run through it if anybody wants us to. But I don't think we should really spend a whole lot of time going through slide by slide, because I think an hour or two is going to go by really fast.
Yeah, well.
But so, Chris, do you want to amend your motion to?
Yeah, I go along with the recommendation made in that discussion that we adjust it appropriately to move the master plan piece of the document forward.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Well, are you voting on the, because the slide is already moved, if you look over on the left-hand side. it's
Yeah,
not
we're
the
voting
same
on
slide.
whether we're going to send this out or not. We have to vote on it.
Right,
Oh,
but what
I
you want to
agree.
do is you want to just make sure that you spell.
I can't hear you, Clay.
It's version 2.
Yeah, version 2 with the amended page 2. So do we, I guess I'll make the motion. I make a motion to accept version 2 as amended with the, why are we doing this as page 2? That more clear, you think, clear?
PDSK RKK LL7G.
That was weird.
That's
Uh,
by computer.
Did you guys just hear that come through the RL7? I don't know what that
Yeah,
was.
I think that
but-
was Claire losing her.
Oh, okay.
I lost my connection.
So I have a motion, seconded. I guess we'll take a roll call vote on it now. Did
Yeah.
we have a second as that? I believe we did. So roll call vote. Ms. Duca,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
Yes,
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Conley,
Yes.
and myself, John Wood. Aye. Motion passes unanimously for accepting that. And Marika, I'd like to send that out to find out whoever the stakeholders are according to the Board of Selectmen or Julie, and we can send this off to all the stakeholders, committee chairs, for them to distribute before October 8th meeting. Does that make, October 6th meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, understood. Will do.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off, Julie. I just wanted to make sure we got this voted on and all correctly, because we got a few other things that we need to go through and vote on, because I'm still learning process and trying to get everything correct in our voting and presentation. So
John, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
I'm punting, Chris. This is purely
No,
just.
you're a good punter.
So next on the agenda is the Southborough Business Assistance Guide that Marika and put together. Again, this is a great job, Marika, and I hope everybody had a chance to take a look at it.
Yes.
My only thing, my only thing was, I think she should change I thought the information was great. There was a lot of COVID stuff, and instead of just being the business assistance guide, maybe we should put COVID reopening guide or COVID business guide or something, because it has a lot of the COVID information, or we just want to keep it as is. I'm easy. I don't really have a preference. I just was curious because it's got a lot of COVID information and a lot of different things in it that's really handy with great links and things like that.
Yeah, so it is mostly COVID related, and it's I think maybe reopening business assistance guide
I like that.
would be an option, or I don't know if you want to use COVID.
Yeah. Good idea. I'll change that one. You see Corona's sales are down by like 45% because of, anyway.
Yeah, I like the reopening as well, you know, because
It feels
I think that works
positive.
better.
Yeah, I agree. See, that's why I have all you guys.
Corona's probably the only liquor sales that are down.
Right.
Maybe I'll call it reopening businesses, and then on the second line, assistant.
No,
Anyway,
I think
I'll come up with something. But, yeah. It's still a work in progress. It's not completely done yet. There's one chapter in there which is helpful links that I'm still working on. Yeah, so that's
I don't know if it's helpful, Marika, but Carolyn Dykmar, state rep, sends out almost a daily or weekly update on the COVID crisis and what people should do. And
yeah.
so if that's helpful, I can certainly send you a copy.
I get it every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I do get it.
so. Marika, when are you thinking of sending this out? And if there's going to be another chapter, and we'll have to vote on that before we can, or do you want to do a second version? Do you want us to?
I actually wanted to attach it to the next, I guess on Monday, the EDC update that will be sent out to all the boards, committees, and employees. So maybe just thinking if we can send it out without as is, without the helpful links. As it is, this is like an electronic guide. So as information changes or as new information comes up, I can, edit it in there. So
Okay.
so I
'Cause
think maybe
you
we
gotta-
can vote on it as is. So I can attach it, at least send it out on Monday.
Absolutely. And then update as we need to for the other pages.
My only question is, do the Board of Selectmen, because even in the introduction, do we ask the Board of Selectmen for some input, in the introduction? Do they need to see this at one of their meetings first before we send this out? As it is a town publication.
I would say yes.
Yeah,
I think that would be a good idea. So I guess we could vote to send this as is to the selectmen for input,
yeah, for approval
for approval.
and input.
Yeah, that way, because if we don't vote on it, they can't even review it.
Yeah.
Is how I understand it, so.
Okay, so I
that's a-
hold off with sending this out in the next update. I mean, I can always do this separately. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
exactly. So do I have a motion to send the reopening business assistance guide as written to the Board of Selectmen for review?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Ms. Conley, second by Ms. DeLuca. I got roll call vote. Suzanne,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Julie,
Yep.
and
Yep.
myself, aye. Passes unanimously. Nice. Done. All right, last thing, the September that we have to vote on, the September EDC update newsletter that Marika wrote.
Yeah, so I plan to send that out on Monday. So I thought I would send out a townwide newsletter every last Monday of the month.
Love it.
Great stuff.
I didn't have any changes or questions on it, Marika. I don't know if anybody else did.
The only request is if I can, I guess the EDC activities update, so not the article, If I can add in the last kind of business news about the purchase of Ferris Development.
Yes,
Absolutely.
And there was one other thing. And oh yeah, of
Merck.
course, Chris, if I can add a link to the new Merck report that's come out, the economic report. I want to add that too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but this is the Merck report from Framingham State.
Yeah, we saw, she sent that out after you sent it to her. That was excellent.
Yeah, guys, this is where the conversation in government is evolving, where they're going to talk about the data that's driving the local economy. And most towns like ours never talk about it. And the reality is our Board of Selectmen, our advisory, and our
Assessors.
Belli, who's the guy who does the tax assessments, and Valentine, they ought to be presenting all their budgets based on these economic indicator reports. It's invaluable, and I think you're sending this out, Marika, is wonderful, and that's it.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve as written just for sending out with the additional links that Marika had spoke about for Merck and the other article? And the other
Motion.
article was about the purchase of Ferris, right?
Well, just kind of added as a bullet point in the business roundup. It's not an article. Yeah, this is
Okay.
the purchase of the lookout at Southborough,
Perfect.
office buildings on
Okay.
Turnpike Road.
Okay. Does anybody want to make that motion, please?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, roll call vote again. Suzanne,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins?
Yes,
I'm sorry, I keep pointing. You guys can't see what I'm pointing at. Rob,
Yep.
Julie,
Yes.
and myself, aye, passes unanimously as well. Excellent. Next item on the agenda is chair report. Real quick, I don't have a whole lot to talk about. We've been going through that. I'm still waiting for a contract for Taylor Black, the recording secretary. I guess there was some questions that Vanessa didn't see my email where they had some email issues last week when I said that we had voted in, blah, blah, blah. Then when I spoke with her and sent the information and address again, and asked about the contract, then I guess she asked me another question, and there was a question on price, because we're paying $75 a meeting because our meetings are half the time as everybody else's. And anyway, so I think that should be squared away now. Hopefully I will follow up tomorrow again. And then, as you guys know or may not know, Lisa Braccio is now the Board of Selectmen liaison to EDC. Then for myself, I'm also on SHOPSI. We had our meeting today. I told them about the October 6th meeting. It was very positive, and they're looking forward to coming as well. And that is all I have for chair reports. Do I have any updates on any other boards or committees from any other members? Nothing? Julie, did you go to the master plan meeting or know anything about that?
Yeah, I completely missed it, and I'm
Okay.
really sad about it. I was having a sort of like it was on my radar, and I was having a disaster children evening, and then I looked up and realized
That's
it was
fine.
class, and I have zero excuses. I just
Okay, so that's it for, anybody else have any other updates for boards or committees? Marika, would you like to give your coordinator report?
Yeah, I think I don't have anything new to report. I know the micro enterprise grant is still going on. The signups are kind of going slow, so there might be a second round of because the deadline is the 25th, so there might be a second round. So I'm still advertising it. I dropped off press releases at businesses, and I'm trying to urge people to sign up and do their best. But it probably will be extended. So I mean, I don't have anything else
Do you know if they're going to change it at all? I've talked to a few businesses that applied for it, and once they went through the approval process and the application process, that I guess they're going by your 2019 income. And a lot of people are saying they're having a hard time reaching it because they're not doing an amended 2020 income level. So people weren't able, they were either making too much money, maybe they made too much
Yeah,
money.
so
in
I mean, so
2019.
there are a lot of these issues, and all the communities, all the businesses in these communities are facing that. I guess the grant is for micro enterprises, so it is for small, really small companies, and it is for low to medium income families. So they're looking at both those things. So even if you have, like, for instance, two business owners, and one would be eligible and the other one makes, his family income is slightly too high, then still they won't be eligible. Which, there are all these rules, so I'm not sure if they're going to change it. I heard they might look into, a form so people can submit their 2020 income, which would be more, because it would be more COVID related. But yeah, they're all still working on that, and that's why we have meetings every week, because at the same time they're talking to the state and see how we can, get more people to become eligible.
Now, what
Yeah, and
happens
I
to the,
can-
oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, we've discovered that in Billerica as well, because it's based upon family income. Even if one of the owners has been adversely impacted by COVID, if the husband or wife of that business owner has a reasonably good salary, they might be above the 80% AMI. And so, because it's not based solely on the business, but family income, we've had a hard time identifying some of the businesses who would be eligible. So although Billerica has some money to give away, it might be a little bit tough for us to do. And I'd have to imagine the same thing would be true in Southborough as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
So
what happens to the funds if they don't, if we say we have $200,000 and only 10 people meet the criteria, what happens to that other 100,000? Just goes back to the state, I'm assuming.
well, those are things that there are no answers to those questions yet. Some might go to other, because we applied as a group application. Some might go to other communities where they have more, lower to medium to lower income families that would apply. But for now, as it looks now, that every community is struggling with the same eligibility issue. So hopefully they can address that in the second round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can
All
I
right.
make a comment about one thing that has happened in Southborough? Now, Marika, correct me. There are two examples of big deals that have gone down with business. One company sold for $2 billion. Dave Ferris just bought up a chunk of property on Route 9.
Yeah.
This is a mega event. This is a mega. It's an indicator that Southborough is a formidable player because of its assets here in terms of employees, location, space, amenities in their mind. And we ought to be involved with those people. And that's one of the goals as we step forward. I'm willing to go. I know Dave Ferris because he grew up as a kid right here on Parkerville Road. And we helped him cut a deal with the economic development team with his first purchase of property right on Route 9 next to EMC. So just know we are players, and the Board of Selectmen are players. Now, I just want to know, I know you're not all Trump players or like him, but you know what he does to bring jobs? He goes right to the CEOs. Our town should be talking right to the CEOs on a regular basis to keep them here. And anyways, that's my 2 cents worth. So we're getting there, but I think it's terrific news for Southborough.
Yeah, we're going once at one of our next meetings, the goal setting that I had asked everybody about. That's one of the things that I want to be able to do and do with the selectmen more. I know they want to get out to meet some of these business people as well. So we'll be meeting with these businesses more, and we'll track it better in the future. That's my goal, especially along the bigger companies on Route 9. Marika, what she didn't say, what she's done, I'll give you kudos for this one, Marika. Marika brokered a deal for the Reliant COVID testing at Southborough Medical at the old Farrell Volvo dealership to go in the bay. She got, what, a 10-month lease, I think you got?
I think, yeah, they're looking for 6 to 9 months to do COVID testing over the fall, winter months. So
That's
they'll be using the old Prime Volvo location on Turnpike Road, and they'll use the mechanic bays in the garage so people can kind of drive in, get tested, and drive back out. So Yeah.
So they wanted to be able to keep people warm instead of going through the tent. So Marika brought them up there. So that was great.
That's awesome.
that
And
was
just know that the guy who owns that building is Dean Hickey, who grew up in Southborough and lives in Southborough on Sears Road.
yeah, yeah, because he's also doing a favor in a way. It's not as if he's getting paid for a huge amount. So he's also trying to work together because he's from town. He's a local. And he wants to help help them.
See, this is where we got to do the recognition
That's a
awards
great
and different things.
story. Yeah, that
Right.
should be like in our newsletter or something. That's a really nice story.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It will be once the actual deal is closed. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant to announce it yet, but it'll be on
Oh,
our
I'm sorry.
website, Julie.
Great. Love it.
Sorry. Any other from you, Marika?
No,
for the
that's all.
recording?
Thank you.
Administrative business. So a couple of things with the EDC Downtown Subcommittee, since most of the members are no longer even on this committee anymore. There's a couple of things I'd like to put forth. One of them is we have to approve a Downtown Subcommittee minutes of December 19th, 2019. They were turned in, but I don't think they were voted on, not sure. But I'd rather vote on them, have them taken care of now. So that way we can post them as voted on.
I just want to make one comment, John. So these were draft minutes, so they were never voted on because we never had a subcommittee meeting. Just one note, I noted that I didn't add the year, so I will add 2019 to the minutes.
Oh yeah, okay, on the top of the minutes, see that. So amend it to that, to 2019. Yeah, so there was no more subcommittee meetings after this one to vote on the minutes, and then blah, 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 is what I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Marika?
correct. Yeah.
So do I have a motion to accept the minutes with the amendment of the 2019 date added to the December 19th?
I'll make that motion.
All right, do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? All right, roll call vote. Suzanne?
Are we allowed to vote if we weren't on the subcommittee?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
I checked into that one myself because I wasn't on the subcommittee or there, so, but we can vote on it.
Yes.
Okay, Chris?
I'm all set, yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Carries 5-0. Now, moving forward, should we disband the EDC downtown subcommittee? My personal opinion is yes, if we're not going to be using it anymore. We can always do it again if we needed to. This is when we actually had more than 5 members. So do I have a motion to disband the EDC downtown subcommittee?
So
I
moved.
so move.
Okay, I have a motion, I'll say by Chris, I saw his hand first. Do I have a second? Do I have a
Second.
second? The second by Julie, great. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, roll call vote. Suzanne?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes,
Julie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And myself, John Wood, yes. So I think, Marika, can you send a letter or an email, or do I need to send an email to the clerk saying we've disbanded that?
Yeah, I'll send a letter and I'll copy you on that.
Okay,
Actually, I'll send a letter on your behalf.
oh, thank you, appreciate that. All right, so do we have any unfinished business? Any new business? And, oh, we have attendees. I'm sorry, I didn't notice that before. I didn't see any the hands up or anything. We have Mr.
Me?
Stivers and Ms. Latrell. Do we have any comment or questions from either one of you guys? You want to raise your hand? I don't know if they've raised hands. Would I see if they had a raised hand? Or would you, Marika?
Yeah, I know, I just noticed them. I didn't notice them earlier.
So I don't see any raised hands.
No.
So
What are we talking about now?
we're talking about the football game. It starts in 6 minutes that I'm going to be watching.
No, I suppose as long as we're on kind of a new business, Marika, have you heard about the Shared Streets grant yet?
Oh,
No, I haven't. No, I'm
Okay.
still waiting. Nothing new. I don't know why it's taking so long. I had an inquiry after I submitted it. Someone, asked me for additional information like the next night at 10 p.m. So I thought, okay, they're on it, right? But I haven't heard from them since. So
That is actually a good sign. Bill Ricca applied 3 times, and the 2 times that we received the grant, we got an email like that. The 3rd
Yeah.
time we applied and they turned us down, they didn't do any follow-up. So I would actually take the fact that they sent you an email for further information as a good sign.
yes, okay, good.
and you went after roughly the same things for Bill Ricca, correct? The tents
Yes.
and benches and heaters.
Yep, we went for tents. We also went for crosswalks at the schools. And then we went for solar powered flashing lights for crosswalks. That's the
Ooh.
one we didn't get. But the one thing I did hear when they told us we didn't get the 3rd one was that there were over 300 applications.
Mm,
So it's going to take a little bit of time. But if they followed up, I would take that as a good sign.
okay, good.
Good. I hope we get it.
One other bit, did you guys know that Vin Bin is reopening on October 1st?
Did you know that they have a donut place that you can, I got those today. And if you have not tried their apple donut, oh my God, it was amazing. And
You got to order by 7 a.m. on Tuesday mornings.
yeah, we did when we picked them up by 9. And
Yep.
oh my gosh, they were good. I actually thought, I didn't know they make them on site. I guess Chef Mike makes them there. And because I didn't mean to offend, but I said they look very similar to Rocco's Donuts out of Westboro. I said, these Rocco's, and she's like, oh no, we make these in-house. And I was like, oh. Yeah, if you haven't tried their donuts yet, you really need to. And their sandwiches are amazing. And I'm glad they're going to be back opening. Hopefully more of the office buildings will be opening and coming back online and be able to get more business over there.
They're definitely looking fuller as you drive by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely, onward and upward. Okay, any other business or questions? I'll ask the public again as well, just because we talk more. Do you guys have any?
Do we have any guests?
We do. We have Mr. Trell and Mr. Stivers. So that's why I was asking if they had anything to raise their hand, and I haven't seen anything. So I think we are good. And I guess my biggest motion I'm going to ask for, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Okay, do I have a second? All right, roll call. Suzanne,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Julie. I think Julie? Okay, Rob?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it's unanimous. Everybody, thank you for coming. Have a great night. And I think we're getting pretty proficient at these meetings there. We're getting a lot done in an hour or less.
Yes.
So
Well done.
Thank you very much for that. And
Thank you.
Thanks.
we're getting the
Thanks.
hang of it. So you guys have a wonderful night. And if I don't talk to you, have a great weekend.
Wonderful. You
Bye.
too. Bye.